All right, Ulysses. It's been a while. Page 161. Duke Street. Here we are. Must eat. The Burton. Feel better then. He turned, came Combridge's corner. Still pursued. Jingling hoofed huds. Perfumed bodies, warm, full. All kissed, yielded. In deep summer fields, tangled pressed grass, in trickling hallways of tenements, along sofas, creaking beds. Jack, love, darling. Kiss me, Reggie, my boy, love. A heart astir, he pushed in the door, a door, it's hard to see what it says, on the Burton restaurant, the door of the Burton restaurant. Stink gripped his trembling breath, pungent meat juice, slop of greens. See the animals feed. Men, men, men. Perched on high stools by the bar, hats shoved back, at the tables calling for more bread, no charge, swilling, wolfing gobfuls of sloppy food, their eyes bulging, wiping wetted mustaches. What does swilling mean? Liquid or partly liquid food for animals, especially kitchen refuse given to swine. Hogwash. A pallid, suit-faced, sweat-faced young man polished his tumbler knife. Pallid. What does that mean? Pale. Sweat juice. Sweat-faced. Polished his tumbler knife with an infant's sauce-stained napkin tucked round him, shoveled gurgling soup down his gullet. A man spitted back on his plate. Half-masticated gristle, no teeth to chew it. Chump-chop from the grill, bolting to get it over. Sad boozer's eyes, bitten off more than he can chew. Am I like that? See ourselves as others see us. Hungry man is an angry man, working tooth and jaw. Don't. Oh, a bone. The last pagan king of Ireland, Cormac, in the school poem, choked himself at slutty southward of the Boyne. Wonder what he was eating. Something galoptious. Galoptious. Never heard that. Galoptious. Galoptious. St. Patrick converted him to Christianity. Couldn't swallow it all, however. Roast beef and cabbage. One stew. Smells of men. His gorge rose. Spatten sawdust. Swedish warmish cigarette smoke. Reek of plug. Spilt beer. Men's beery piss. The stale of ferment. Couldn't eat a morsel here. Fellow sharpening knife and fork to eat all before him. Old chap picking his toodles. Slight spasm. Full. Chewing the cud. Before and after. Grace after meals. Cud is the portion of food that a ruminant returns from the first stomach to the mouth to chew a second time. To meditate or ponder, ruminate. Grace after meals. Look on this picture, then on that. Scoffing up stew gravy with sopping sippets of bread. Lick it off the plate, man. Get out of this. He gazed round the stooled and tabled eaters, tightening the wings of his nose. 2 stouts here. one corned and cabbage. That fellow ramming a knife full of cabbage down as if his life depended on it. Good stroke. Give me the fidgets to look. Safer to eat from his 3 hands. Tear it limb from limb, second nature to him. Born with a silver knife in his mouth. That's witty, I think. Or no. Silver means born rich. Born with a knife. But then the illusion is lost. Ha ha, that's pretty funny. An ill-girt server gathered sticky, clattering plates. Let me check ill-girt. Ill-girt. No, that one didn't come up. Server gathered sticky, clattering plates. Rock, the bailiff, standing at the bar, blew the foamy crown from his tankard. Bailiff. An officer similar to a sheriff or a sheriff. You know, dictionary.com, fuck that shit, man. There's so many fucking ads. It's like so annoying. An officer similar to a sheriff or a sheriff's deputy. Employed to execute writs and processes, make arrests, keep order in the court, etc. And the other word, tankard. Tankard. A large drinking cup, usually with a handle and a hinged cover. Well up, it splashed yellow near his boot. A diner, knife and fork upright, elbows on table, ready for a second helping, stared towards the food lift across his stained square of newspaper. The food lift. Not sure what a food lift is. Stained square of newspaper. Other chap telling him something with his mouth full. Sympathetic listener. Table talk. I munched hum up the unster bunk on Monday. Ha. Unster bunk on Monday. Ha. Did you, Faith? Mr. Bloom raised 2 fingers doubtfully to his lips. His eyes said, not here. Don't see him. Out. I hate dirty eaters. He backed towards the door. Get a light snack in Davy Burns. Stopgap. Keep me going. Had a good breakfast. Roast and mashed here. Pint of stout. Every fellow for his own. Tooth and nail. Gulp. Grub. Gulp. Gob stuff. He came out into clearer air and turned back towards Grafton Street. Eat or be eaten. Kill. Kill. Suppose that communal kitchen, years to come perhaps, all trotting down with porringers and tommy cans to be filled. Porringers. A low dish or cup, often with a handle, from which soup, porridge, or the like is eaten. Came out and clear its hearts back to its garden to eat or be eaten. Kill, kill. Suppose that communal kitchen years to come, perhaps, all trotting down with porringers and tommy cans to be filled, devour contents in the street. John Howard Parnell, example, the provost of Trinity. Every mother's son, don't talk of your provosts. And provost of Trinity, women and children, cabmen, priests, parsons, field marshals, archbishops. From Aylesbury Road, Clyde Road, artisans' dwellings, North Dublin Union. Lord Mayor in his gingerbread coach, old queen in a bath chair. My plate's empty. After you with our incorporated drinking cup. Like Sir Philip Crampton's fountain. Rub off the microbes with your handkerchief. Next chap rubs on a new batch with his. Father O'Flynn would make hares of them all. Have rows all the same. All for number one. Children fighting for the scrapings of the pot. Want a soup pot as big as the Phoenix Park. Harpooning flitches and hindquarters out of it. Hate people all around you. City Arms Table de Hotel, she called it. De Hotel. Soup, joint, and sweet. Never know whose thoughts you're chewing. Then who'd wash up all the plates and forks? Might be all teeting on tabloids that time. Teeth getting worse and worse. After all, there's a lot in that vegetarian fine flavor, or things from the earth garlic, of course. It stinks Italian organ grinders, crisp of onions. Mushrooms, truffles. Pain to the animal, too. Pluck and draw foul. Organ grinder. An itinerant musician who earns a living by playing a hand organ or hurdy-gurdy. Pain to the animal, too. Pluck and draw foul. Wretched brutes there at the cattle market, waiting for the poleaxe to split their skulls open. Moo. Poor trembling calves. Meh. Staggering bob. Bubble and squeak. Butcher's buckets wobble lights. Give us that brisket off the hook. Plump, raw head and bloody bones. Flayed, glass-eyed sheep hung from their haunches. Sheep snouts. Bloody papered sniveling nose jam on sawdust. Top and lashers going out. Don't maul them pieces, young one. Hot, fresh blood they prescribe for decline. Blood always needed. Insidious. Lick it up, smoking hot. Thick, sugary, famished ghosts. Ah, I'm hungry. He entered Davy Burns' moral pub. He doesn't chat. Stands a drink now and then. But in leap year once in 4. Cashed a check for me once. What will I take now? He drew his watch. Let me see now. Shandygaff? Hello, Bloom, Nosy Flynn said from his nook. Hello, Flynn. How's things? Tip-top, let me see. I'll take a glass of Burgundy and let me see. Sardines on the shelves. Almost taste them by looking. Sandwich? Ham and his descendants, mustard and bread there. Potted meats. What is home without Plumtree's potted meat? Incomplete. What a stupid ad. Under the obituary notices they stuck it. All up a Plumtree. Dingham's potted meat. Cannibals. Wood with lemon and rice. White missionary, too salty. Like pickled pork. Expect the chief consumes the part of honor. Ought to be tough from exercise. His wives in a row to watch the effects. There was a right royal old, and the N-word, who ate or something, the somethings of the Reverend Mr. Mac Trigger. With it an abode of bliss. Lord knows what concoction. Calls, moldy tripes, windpipes faked and minced up. Puzzle finds the meat. Kosher. No meat and milk together. Hygiene, that was what they call now. Yom Kippur, fast spring cleaning of inside. Peace and war depend on some fellow's digestion. He makes some references to Judaism. Before there was the Shema. Also the Akashic Records is sort of the book of life. Peace and war Depend on some fellow's digestion. Religions. Christmas turkeys and geese. That's a profound statement. Peace and war depend on some fellow's digestion. He's kind of right about that. Christmas turkeys and geese. Slaughter of innocents. Eat, drink, and be merry. Then casual wards full after. Heads bandaged. Cheese digests all but itself. Mighty cheese. Have you a cheese sandwich? That's a lot of thinking before asking for the cheese sandwich. But it's true. I mean, that's pretty much what your brain does. It's like a realism gone to the nth degree. Yes, sir. Like a few olives, too, if they had them. Italian I prefer. Good glass or Burgundy. Take away that. Lubricate. A nice salad, cool as a cucumber. Tom Kernan can dress. Puts gusto into it. Pure olive oil. Millie served me that cutlet with a sprig of parsley. So he kind of combines like elements that are disparate. Like, you know, he's thinking about food. And then he sees this guy and thinks, oh man, he can dress. But then he puts them together. He says, you know, he puts gusto into his dress. Pure olive oil. You know, it's like combining food and then other things he sees. Millie served me that cutlet with a sprig of parsley. Take one Spanish onion. God made food, the devil of cooks. And then sometimes he'll take it like to a profound, like you at any point pondering the mundane, you can take it up to a level of universal or religious. So I'll write that down. Of universe, conscious, religious. Immediately the God reference. God made food. The devil, the cooks. The devil, the cooks. Deviled crab. I mean, it's really genius. Wife, well? Quite well, thanks. It's always hard to keep track of who's talking. This is Bloom. Quite well, thanks. A cheese sandwich, then. Gorgonzola, have you? Yes, sir. Nosy Flynn sipped his grog. Does it really matter that I look up what grog is? A mixture of rum and water, often flavored. Again, the fucking ads, man. Oh my god. With lemon, sugar, and spices, and sometimes served hot. Well, okay, good to know. Doing any singing those times? Looking at his mouth. Could whistle in his own ear. Flap ears to match. Music. Knows as much about it as my coachman. Still better tell him. Does no harm. Free ad. She's engaged for a big tour end of this month. You may have heard, perhaps. No. Oh, that's the style. Who's getting it up? The curate served. How much is that? 7D, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bloom cut his sandwich into slender strips. Mr. MacTrigger, easier than the dreamy, creamy stuff. His 500 wives had the time of their lives. Mustard, sir? Thank you. He studied under each lifted strip yellow blobs. Their lives. I have it. It grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Getting it up, he said? Well, it's like a company idea, you see. Part shares and part profits. Aye, now I remember, Nosy Flynn said, putting his hand in his pocket to scratch his groin. See, this is where I start wondering, are there sex references? Like, when he says, it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, you think of a penis. right? He studied under each lifted strip yellow blobs. When you think of blobs, I think of boobs. And then it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the guy says, getting it up. I mean, what does that mean? That usually you think of an erection. Well, it's a company idea. You see, part shares. I mean, do I just have a dirty mind, or is there something going on there? Part shares and part profits. And then he says, now I remember, Nosy Flynn said, putting his hand in his pocket to scratch his groin. So there's another little, sort of a reference. Who is this was telling me? Isn't Blazes Boylan mixed up in it? A warm shock of air heat of mustard. Hotched on Mr. Bloom's heart. Hotched. That's a weird word. Haunch. What does that mean? Maybe he meant haunch. The hip. How about the word bilious? I've just about had it with dictionary.com. It's so just overrun with ads, you know? You're just bombarded with ads. Pertaining to bile or to an excess secretion of bile, suffering from, caused by, or attending by trouble with the bile or liver, irritable, cranky, peevish, extremely unpleasant, or distasteful. He raised his eyes and met the stare of a bilious clock. 2. Pub clock, 5 minutes fast. Time going on, hands moving. 2. Not yet. His midriff yearns then upward, sank within him, yearns more longingly. Wine. And I'll stop there for today.